And well, new details have emerged of the stunning Russian strategy to win back Kursk. How an abandoned pipeline became the means to mount a silent invasion. As combat soldiers crawled through a claustrophobic pipe for 4 days to emerge behind enemy lines and take the enemy by surprise. Our next story explains this daring maneuver of the Russian troops. Take a look.
Darkness, silence, soldiers crawling through a gas pipeline inch by inch in a desperate bid to turn the tide of war. Russian forces stunned Ukrainian troops and reclaimed Kursk. For months, the front lines in Kursk remained frozen. Russian troops pounded Ukrainian defenses with relentless airstrikes and ground offensives, yet progress was minimal. The battlefield was locked in a brutal stalemate. To change the tide of the war, Russian commanders adopted a radical approach, one as audacious as the Trojan horse. Instead of fighting head-on, they would strike from beneath. Under cover of night, Russian special forces clad in protective gear entered a gas pipeline. Their objective, move undetected for over 15 kilometers to the Ukrainian-held town of Sudza. The preparations took 4 months. Oxygen tanks were delivered on March 1st. The next day, Russian troops entered in small groups, crawling through the tight 1.4-meter wide passage. This was a pipeline through which Russian gas used to flow, but President Zelensky switched off the supply. The pipeline was idle, but the Russians saw an opportunity in it. At dawn on March 8th, on getting final orders, the Russian troops emerged from the pipeline. The element of surprise stunned the Ukrainians. Chaos erupted as artillery and drone strikes rained down. Ukrainian soldiers, caught off guard, scrambled for cover. The Russian ambush was swift, brutal and decisive. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Shifting our focus to West Asia, where building on its expansionist goals, Israel is gradually advancing its footprint in Syria and strengthening its base. And from the looks of it, they don't seem to be withdrawing anytime soon. Look at what Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has said. He said that the army is preparing to stay in Syria for an indefinite period. He said that during his visit to the military outpost in the security area on the summit of strategic Mount Hermon. Moreover, the government has tasked the Israeli Defense Forces, or the IDF, to prevent Syrian forces from gathering within 65 kilometers from the border with Israel. Apart from this, the Israeli army claims to be building more outposts along the buffer zone between Israel and Syria.
IDF is preparing to stay in Syria for an indefinite period. We will maintain security in the area and on Mount Hermon and ensure that all security areas in southern Syria are demilitarized and free of weapons and threats, while also protecting the well-being of the Druze community in the area.
And going by its moves, it is as if Israel has had it all planned out, which it seeks to execute in stages, or if we can say phases. As a part of its primary target, Israel seeks to control the largest possible area of Syria and later segregate it into 3 regions that form what it calls its defense system. That's what Israel is planning to do. Let's tell you about these 3 areas now. Number 1 is the region extends from the peak of Mount Hermon to the Syrian-Jordanian-Israeli border south of Tiberias. This is important because it allows the army to monitor Damascus and the Bekaa region in Lebanon. The second region, closer to the borders, includes towns in southern Syria and is called the Security Zone. The third region, called the Area of Influence, it spans over 65 kilometers, bordered on the east by the Damascus-Suedia highway. And as it stands currently, the Israeli army controls the entire buffer zone from the border fence to 5 kilometers into Syria. 3 IDF brigades are openly stationed there as well, and they are tasked with preventing infiltrations to Israel. The army is also preventing Syrians from entering this area, with an exception for those residing within the 5-mile zone. Meanwhile, the Israeli army has defined the area less than 15 kilometers from the border as a security zone, where the IDF does not allow members of Syria's military to enter. The IDF is also preventing Syrian troops from stationing long-range weapons up to 65 kilometers from the border. As per reports, Israel is in talks with Russia as well to strengthen Russian military bases in Syria. Meanwhile, Israel has reportedly urged Washington to keep its troops in Syria as well. That's until Israel's plan is fully secured. Well, just for context here, since the regime change in Syria and the rise of Ahmad al-Shara, the IDF has carried out dozens of raids on military sites belonging to both the former and the current administrations in Syria, aiming to harm any attempt by the new regime to station its army near the border. The IDF also plans to establish a coordination unit which will focus on strengthening connections with the Druze population in Syrian villages near the border. If you're wondering how, well, they say that they will allow the IDF-controlled Syrian Druze population, which is a community which Israel committed to defend, to enter and work in Israel in a phased manner. Not just that, the Israeli army has also said to be committed to improving infrastructure of the towns where the Druze population live. Well, seeing all this, it does seem like Israel's plan is pretty foolproof, even though up until now, these are just claims. The moot question is, will Israel be able to strengthen its position in the Syrian soil? The coming days will reveal that. Our next story is right from our solar system. Have you ever wondered how many moons our planets have? If not, astronomers have some answers for you. And as per latest findings, Saturn has officially replaced Jupiter as a planet with the most number of moons. The International Astronomical Union officially recognized 128 new moons orbiting the ringed planet Saturn, which brings its current moon count to 274, which is nearly twice as many as all the other planets combined. This also means that Saturn has finally defeated Jupiter, which was believed to have the most number of moons till date, and thus claimed the title Moon King. And going by the latest, one can perhaps say Saturn has managed to dethrone Jupiter successfully, and experts say it will be hard for Jupiter to catch up, which as of 2024 has only 95 moons with confirmed orbits. If you're wondering what about other planets in comparison, Mercury and Venus are moonless. Earth has 1 moon, Mars has 2, Uranus and Neptune have 28 and 16 known moons respectively. Despite not being a planet, Pluto has 5 moons. You see, the universe till date remains vastly untapped, with always more out there than what meets the eye. But how can this discovery of moons help? Well, as per reports, closer observations of tiny moons, which may not be visible to the naked eye all the time, could give scientists a window into a turbulent period in the early solar system. This can help them know the universe a lot better and give them reasons to be over the moon, quite literally.